happened here earlier today was a terrible tragedy and an act of senseless violence that we're all dealing with and we see all too often throughout our country. Family and friends were gathered today at a hockey game at Lynch Arena to celebrate the senior night, bringing together communities from across the state. Instead, an act of senseless violence has taken the lives of two innocent victims, with the suspect taking his own life. 3 other victims are now in the hospital fighting for their lives. Our prayers go out to the victims, to the families, and everyone impacted by this devastating incident. I understand the media and our community want answers about what happened, and the Pawtucket Police Department, in coordination with the Attorney General's office and other law enforcement agencies, are in the middle of an active investigation. They have already interviewed more than 100 witnesses and are reviewing multiple videos of the shooting. We are all committed to transparency and will share more details as we get them confirmed. You'll hear from the chief in a couple of minutes. I have a couple of updates from earlier today, and that update will be the last that we have for this evening, and hopefully we'll be able to update you some more. This here is also about working with the victims and working with the state. We've talked to the governor's office, the attorney general's office, and working collectively with the state. They have set up a 211, the number to provide counseling and referral services. Anyone impacted in today's incident should call 211. The trained professionals are available to address both physical and emotional needs, and recognizing that healing takes many forms. Additionally, we will be opening tomorrow the Blackstone Valley Visitor Center, located at 175 Main Street, at 12 o'clock to 7 tomorrow, and then for individuals who were present during the shooting and their families for grief counseling. Pawtucket is a resilient community, but tonight we are a city in mourning. We encourage everyone, students, parents, educators, to lean on one another for support as the situation unfolds. Together, we need to embrace resiliency while we're fostering the environment of compassion prevails overall. We will do our best to keep the public and the media informed as the investigation unfolds. Finally, and I'll know the chief will also go on this, if anyone has any information relevant to today's shooting, we've seen all these videos, please call the Pawtucket Police Department who are handling the investigation. The number is 401-727-9100. I'd like to turn it over for the chief for a minute.
Good evening. So today, Pawtucket Police received a call for an active shooter about 2:30 p.m. Police were on scene within a minute and a half of that call. It appears that a lone individual, the suspect, entered the arena to watch the hockey game of a family member, and unfortunately during that time a shooting occurred. We have confirmed that the suspect is now deceased. Also, there are 2 victims that have also been confirmed deceased, and then we have 3 victims that are still at the hospital in critical condition. We have worked tirelessly with local police departments here in the state, also our federal partners, and our state partners with the Attorney General's office also. We have given you the information that I had earlier today. I can tell you that we have interviewed people that were in the stadium watching the game, participating in the game. We probably had about 100 people within the station that we talked to. We can also tell you that a Good Samaritan stepped in and interjected in this scene, and that's probably what led to a swift end of this tragic event earlier today. So at that time, like I said, we have more information as the time goes on. We'll be able to share that with you. I did share with you earlier today the information we had at that point. The only thing we have to add again is that we have interviewed many people that were there. We're also accepting videos it was live streamed videos from parents that were videoing their kids while they were playing the game. So we ask you to obviously take those videos, forward them to the detectives. It's Detective Webb, like the mayor said, 401-727-9100, extension 1711. We also have 211 set up for any kind of emotional support that people may need within the city. Again, we're here to assist, so anything that we can do to kind of assist the community out there. And again, any information that you have that you think may be relevant, we ask that you share it with us, because again, we're not sure exactly what videos were out there and who was videotaping at the time, but that's the information that we have at this point.
Chief, can you describe how this Good Samaritan stopped this person?
What I can say is that he interjected and he attempted to subdue him.
Did he tackle him, or?
So that is all part of, like I said, during the investigation, but I can tell you that a Good Samaritan did step in.
And did the shooter have a son on the hockey team when playing?
So again, like I said earlier today, I can identify that there was one lone suspect, that this was a targeted event. It looked like it was a family dispute, and there was one individual that was a family friend. But as for identifying the victims at this time, it's too early in the investigation to identify people, because obviously we want to make sure that their families are well aware of what's going on before we put it out to the public.
Did the suspect have any use to
Again, what I can tell you is that the suspect did have a firearm. As to how many firearms he had, that's all part of the investigation, and that information will be released later.
Were those firearms retrieved after the scene, found after the scene?
We did retrieve firearms on the scene.
Did any type of a restraining order, any type of threats that this suspect may have made against any members?
So that has not come to our attention. During the initial stages of the investigation, we haven't seen that, but again, it's very early on. It just happened earlier today, so we are investigating that. We're looking at all avenues. If there was any motivation, if there was any type of incident leading up to that, we don't have any of that information at this time that we know of. So as that develops, obviously, we will look into that and fully investigate that.
Was it a family friend who was killed or injured?
Again, we're not going to release the victims at this point because, you know, the privacy of the victims and their families, but that information will come out later.
Initially, the thought was it was all members of the same family. Now, friends part of this group?
Correct.
Family members and a family friend.
Correct. Pawtucket has not had prior interactions. No.
As for the suspect, do you confirm whether the subject's a male, female? We heard that it's a transgender person. Is that something he has medical information?
So what I can say right now that we have identified the person, the suspect, by a birth name. The birth name was Robert Dorgan. We have also learned that the person does go by the name of Roberta, also uses a last name of Esposito. But again, that will be all confirmed throughout the course of the investigation. As to their status, that really doesn't have anything to do with the investigation.
Do you have an age? Yeah, the age of the suspect.
1969 he was born.
Do you know if the gun was legally purchased?
At this time, it's still part of the investigation, so we will be investigating the firearms, where they come from, where they were purchased, and whether or not they had a permit to carry.
Was the van that was towed away from the scene, the white van, did that belong to the suspect?
Anything that was towed from the scene is obviously, we believe that it might be involved in some way. So as part of the investigation, we are taking all precautions to make sure that we investigate all evidence that we may feel that was part of the scene today.
Mayor, have you been in touch with Governor McKee? There was his here tonight.
Yes, no, we've been in touch. He's been allowing and, I'm sorry, he's been supporting, as well as the Attorney General and many others. We'll be briefing each other tomorrow with everyone and probably doing a joint statement at some point. But yes, the state has been very active and involved, as well as many of the other mayors who are in these other communities. So we've been having those conversations, and we're sharing as much information as we can, and then we're all going to collectively get together.
I'm actually able to answer this question as far as the mutual aid that was tapped. I know there was a few different jurisdictions that were brought in, as well as first responders. You can see that it's a group team effort that it kind of took to process the scene and make sure victims were treated as such.
So when the call initially came in, obviously we dispatched the police department, which I said was there within a minute and a half of the actual active shooter. And the fire department, once it was safe for them to come in, they administered aid, also with our police officers inside administered aid. I can tell you that most of the departments that responded for mutual aid were more administrative aid. They helped us secure the scene, they helped us on the outpost. And again, there were so many departments that came to our aid. It was phenomenal to see all the assistance that we had, whether it be our local partners, our state partners, and our federal partners. As soon as they heard a call for service, they all came. So again, tomorrow we'll be touching base with all of them, but most of them were on administrative aid outside of the scene.
literally to be closed and somehow.
So that will all depend on the investigation, but at this point, it is closed.
Can you detail any more timeline? Was he there for a while and then started shooting, do you believe, or did he come in?
So that's all part of the investigation. Obviously, we're going to develop a timeline, but at this point, it's too early on to be able to release that to the public. But we are developing a timeline of presence and how long he had been
But you
there.
believe he had multiple weapons? Because
What I
multiple
said was
guns were at the time.
all part of the investigation, and then we'll determine that later. But at this point, we're not going to give up how many weapons
You
the
still
person had.
believe he died from a self-inflicted gunshot?
Correct.
What do the next 24 hours look like for the department?
So really, like I said, we're still at the initial stages of the investigation. So after we have spoken to many, many victims and witnesses today, we're going to obviously collect all that information. The detectives will meet together, we'll have a debriefing, they'll compare all the information, we'll reach out to family, we'll try to establish a timeline like we spoke about. Whether or not there's any motive, we'll try to talk to different people. So it's going to be a very busy next 24, 48 hours trying to gather the story, right? We want to make sure that the information that we're given is factual and it's accurate and that we're not going off of hearsay or things that are on social media. Unfortunately, because social media is so popular, things get out there that maybe necessarily aren't true. So we're trying to quell those kind of rumors and make sure that all the information that we're putting out there is factual.
The victims were hospitalized in critical condition. Have you been able to speak with them?
So the victims are at the hospital. We have detectives stationed there, but as of right now, we don't have statements from them.
Chief, can you confirm, so was there a training for active shooter actually going on in the city which helped with the response?
So we did have an initial training that was separate and apart from this, a normal training within the city for a police department.
But that helped with the response having that?
We had several members that were here on training on days off, so we had additional members, if that's right, we had additional members of the police department that were around, so the response was immediate. Obviously, it's right next to the police station. Like I said, we were there within a minute and a half.
Were any of the players related to the two people who died who were killed?
So again, I don't want to get into the family ties because again, they do have an expectation of privacy and a right of privacy, and we'd like to, be able to honor that. It's a tragic event for everybody that was there today, but especially a family. There were so many family members there that were part of this incident. So again, we respect their privacy and we're trying to work with them.
Have the police
Thank you.
retrieved any type of either diary or journal or video or any type of confession that the shooter may have left?
It's too early in the investigation to. Thank you very much. I'll give it back to you, Nathan.
No, but thank you. Again, our hearts go out to the families. This is about trying to grieve as the police do their investigation, and we will release as much information as soon as we have it. So thank you. Appreciate you.